Hey everybody, my name is Billy and I wanted to welcome you all to our webinar, A Smarter Approach to Telemedicine Using Android. I'll be your host and moderator today, and if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat box and we will definitely get to them at the end of the session. We'll take a few minutes to settle down before we start, make sure everybody's on the same page. One thing I want to let everybody know is that this webinar is being recorded and we will share this webinar with you on Monday. We also will have that Q&A segment and we will try to address every question there, but if you have any other questions, feel free to shoot us an email, andy@esper.io. And now that we're all here, I just wanted to say a big thank you again for joining us, and we can actually start and dive into that session. So today we'll actually be talking about integrating telemedicine apps and systems onto existing solutions. We'll discuss the technology challenges, integration challenges, and how to choose the right UX with our speakers. So our quick overview agenda is we're going to do an overview of the Esper console platform. Then we're going to talk about approaches for integrating telemedicine onto an Android app-based solution. Third, we're going to get to some sample approaches on how you would be using this third-party chat provider on Esper. And then fourth would be some best practices for updating an existing fleet using Esper as well. We're thrilled to have Yadu Gopalan, our CEO and founder of Esper, as well as Keith Zott, our VP of Technical Marketing here at Esper with us today. Please give them a warm round of a welcome, and we will start with Yadu for introductions.
Hi there, I'm Yadu. I'm the CEO, and I'm kind of the engineering geek behind Esper.
And I'm Keith Zott, and I try to be the engineering geek, but in the end, I'm part of the marketing team and also work a lot with customers to help them build and roll out their solutions using the Esper platform. Thanks, Billy. So before we dive into telemedicine and Esper, let's do a quick overview of the Esper platform. I'll keep it short as many of you already know Esper, but it's important context for those who don't. We'd be happy to do a deep dive into Esper with anyone interested. Just reach out after the webinar and we'll set it up. So Esper is dedicated to helping customers create, build, and manage single-purpose Android device fleets by applying the DevOps approach. Esper is built from the ground up to meet these unique customer needs. So things like kiosk and kiosk mode solutions, they're front and center, but we do handle multi-app mode, as we call it, non-kiosk mode, for that type of use case as well. We support both AOSP and GMS from Android 4.4 to Android 10. Now for the medical industry, this spans data collection devices, check-in kiosks, staff tablets, control patient devices using external sensor technology as well. Our UX is designed for ease of use, and given our laser focus on just Android corporate-owned dedicated devices, we are uncluttered, crisp, and efficient. Let's start out with what's new. We're pretty fast moving. We add a lot of new features and capabilities. And so we give customers a handy dandy one-stop shop to see what's new with each of our releases. So that way you can very quickly get up to speed on the new capabilities that are provided via Esper. Additionally, we give you fine-grained user management. So you can have an enterprise admin. You can also create an admin that is specific to a group. You can do the same thing with a view mode. You can have view across the entirety of Esper, or you can do it at the group level. So that way you can add personnel and map their access and use of the system to their specific role quite easily. Another nice feature down here is a feedback tool. So the feedback tool, literally, if you have an issue, if you have a bug, if you have just something that you want to give feedback on, it's built right in, and you can basically take a screenshot of it, mark up the screen, and send it to us, and it goes straight to our issue tracking database with the development team for consideration to address in a future release. So super smooth, super clean. Now this is the dashboard. This is the snapshot of the status of your fleet. We show you deployment status, security summary, geolocation of your devices, and alert status. So you can see our fleet's running well. We've had no alerts, but we have a high-risk device. Let's go check that out. Okay. And if we go to the security tab over here, we can see that the device has been rooted or tampered. So we clearly have an issue with this particular device that needs to be addressed. So that's all great, but how do you enroll and provision your devices on the Esper? That's where the provisioning methods come in. We do Android Enterprise means for GMS devices, Android for Work, 6-tap QR code. For AOSP and GMS devices that don't have a camera, because QR code is typically required for Android Enterprise, we have the provisioner tool. It's an executable that runs on Mac and Windows, and with it you can provision up to 16 devices at once via USB, Ethernet, Wi-Fi, so a very handy tool that gives you some scalability. Now we support Samsung Knox mobile enrollment and Google Zero Touch enrollment, but this seamless provisioning right here is for Esper Enhanced Android. We actually have our own build of Android, and it's designed for these particular specialized use cases with single-purpose Android devices. And with seamless provisioning, it's literally no touch. You configure it via Esper, and when that device turns on and connects to Wi-Fi or cellular, it immediately gets pushed out all the configuration settings and apps to both enroll it and get it prepared for initial use via Esper. So literally no touch for the customer at deployment. Very cool. We give you a picker here if you're not sure what provisioning method to use, and you can always email us if you can't figure it out. We're happy to help. So now that you know the methods, we also have a thing called a provisioning template. And the provisioning template is nice because it lets you collect all the configurations, all the apps, and all the settings to initially enroll and provision an app. And you can organize it however you want. If you want to do it based on particular customers, whatever part of the build or operational process for the devices, you can encapsulate it in different provisioning templates. So you can see that you can duplicate it quite easily, you can preview it, and you can edit it. We'll jump in quick just to show you a few things. Part of this is a compliance policy, and you'll see that coming up in Esper because it's a common means to determine configurations for a device. You can do it upon enrollment here with your provisioning template. You can push out changes to it later on to whichever devices you wish. So you can see it handles things like lock screen, app permissions, system update, what settings app do you want to include. We actually have a special Esper one here, by the way, that's great for kiosk mode, that's password protected. Do you want to protect hard key factory reset? How do you want to handle telephony, messaging functions, Google Play Store, USB connectivity? Additionally, we have this tooltip that will pop up. There's a lot there, so we make it very easy for you to figure out what each toggle does. You can restrict calls based on numbers, and then if you want to just turn off ADB so your devices can't use ADB, you do it right here, and it's baked into the template. Next are apps. We do kiosk mode, so you can set up an app to be in kiosk mode. You can have other apps underneath it if you wish, and we also make it very easy to exit kiosk mode remotely as well as on the device, or multi-app mode. You can include in-ROM apps via package name out of the gate. You can do manage Google Play apps, or you can do it directly from Esper as well. So we have our Esper Cloud. So we'll basically add CPU-Z here, latest version, add it, and then good to go. It's part of the provisioning. Okay, so with that, you can do wallpaper if you want. These settings are accessible to the user, so it's things like, but if you did the Android settings app as an example, so Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, location, brightness, volume, so the screen-oriented settings. And then if you allowed ADB, you can set a session duration so it's just not left on. You can push out new Wi-Fi access points to it, have as many as you want as part of your template. And then for Android 9 QR code, you can actually have a template built into the QR code out of the gate. Here you put it in a group. We'll choose Telemed. And this is if you want to use IMEI as another way that you can provision. And then finally a preview. We'll update it since we were editing it, and then we're done. Okay, so now that we provisioned and onboarded, where do your devices end up? Well, we do have an overall devices view. So these are all your devices in your fleet in one place. We start out with a grid view, so you get these nice tiles that you can see. We allow you to do an alias if you want to have a human-friendly name to your device, but we also have a device ID that we use. You can see we give you tags. We give you information about connectivity for the device. And so make it all very easy to see, but admittedly, it's not always the most efficient way to work with your fleet. And so that's why we also give you a list view. So with the list view, what you can do is you can choose filters. So that way you have many different filters that you can work with to winnow it just to the particular devices that you're trying to get to across your fleet. And then we make it very easy to add or remove columns. So that way you can have the particular fields that you're looking for that are included in the table. The nice thing here is that if you select a device or any number of devices, now you can take an action on those devices directly from here. You ping, reboot, install an app, uninstall an app, apply a policy. And then you can also download as a CSV or Excel this particular list so that you can fold it into your operations as you wish. And then finally, we give you a map view. So with the map view, your devices are geolocated. You can see we're mostly in the Pacific Northwest at our Bellevue, Washington headquarters. So that's all great, but there's more because you can actually go to a particular device and be able to manipulate it at the device level through the device's view. So you can see you get rich information about the device. You can do settings from here as well. So if you wanted to wipe this device, lock it down, everything that you saw before is available to you in terms of mapping to the provisioning template. You get an event feed. So this shows you all the different events that occurred on the device or with the device through Esper, the time and date and who did it. So it's a very nice log. We give you telemetry via device graphs so that you can see the status of battery, data, wireless connectivity, all in one place. Available via API as well, by the way. Here we show you apps. So these are apps that are on the device, and we give you a couple different views here. This shows you in-ROM. These are Google apps, and then finally enterprise apps that you have pushed out from Esper. And so this is interesting in itself because you can see we did not push any out from Esper. And so you can very quickly find out that kind of information through these particular filters. So let's say that you did want to actually install an app, super easy. So what we're going to do here is take CPU-Z, since we don't have it on there. We can select version, we'll install it. And so that little slide out is a common UX for us that makes it very easy to find out the status of these types of actions that you can take through Esper. So you can see quickly the app was successfully installed, and there it is. So very nice. Compliance policy, we talked about that before. If you want to change it after the fact, you can push out new compliance policies that you've created after your provisioning template to your device. We talked about security already. We support remote view and remote control for devices that are signed by our, that the platform key has signed our plugin. And you can capture bug reports from here as well. So very nice. So with that, why don't we go to groups? So similar to device, looking at it at a group level, you can organize it however you want. We'll go to the Telemed group here, and you can see we give you the tile view with the same kind of filters that we had in the device view. You can do the same settings that you had at the device level across the group. You have your event feed, you can do the compliance policy, you can push apps out, and if you're doing Esper Enhanced Android, we have FOTA built in for over the updates. So why don't we go to apps next? So with apps, we have our Esper Cloud, as we call it, where you can upload your apps directly to Esper. And the nice thing about this is it supports AOSP and GMS, so you can have a mixed fleet and make it very easy to manage it with fine grain from one place. No Google dependencies at all whatsoever there. Make it super easy to upload your app and get it into the Esper Cloud. But some customers want to use Google Play Store. So we support Managed Google Play. You can bind it directly to your account. You can choose which Google Play apps that you want to make available to install within your fleet or expose them via Google Play in multi-app mode if you include the Google Play app. You can do private apps, you can do web apps, which are very nice in some cases, and you can organize your apps based on different customers, different deployments. And so a lot of nice capability with managed Google Play. So next we'll jump to alerts. So here are alerts. So with alerts, we give you two basic types currently for battery or for internet connectivity. It's sent out to an email address. You can set the alert condition and you'll get a nicely packaged alert via email. We're coming out with our next generation of alerts very soon, so you should take a look at that in the coming weeks to see how we've advanced alerts in Esper. Compliance policy we talked about, so this is the same that you saw in the provisioning template. Again, it just lets you change after the fact, after enrollment, those configurations that are not accessible to the user on the device. We give you some nice recording capabilities. We give you daily reports. It gives you a nice snapshot of your fleet. You can download it from Esper directly. Additionally, you can do an email subscription where it just gets emailed to you on a daily basis. We let you also do custom reports. You can do it by group, select the group. You can do it over a span of time and get a specific report for your particular needs quite easily. We have geofence as well. So basically from 100 meters to 10 kilometers, you can either make the device lock or beep or both upon exiting the geofence. So a very nice feature for keeping track and controlling of your device fleet. We also have a nice pipeline function. So this is our initial pipeline feature, which is about upload of new app version. And what that means is that you can have a test lab just sitting there ready that when your dev team uploads the new version of your app, boom, it goes directly to your test lab without any intervention and you're ready to go. We're going to be adding a lot of new features around pipelines, and so excited to show you that in upcoming demo. So with that, why don't we jump back to the slides? And I just wanted to mention a little bit more about Esper Enhanced Android. So like I said, we support photo for it, but more importantly, we also support a lot of different devices that our customers are using to build great solutions. So the Big Paws kiosks, the Catus Edge 5, the Odroid N2, and a whole host of others, including single board computers from MediaTek as reference designs. And so a lot of excitement around here for us, and you're going to see new devices and new solutions coming out with Esper Enhanced Android with that fine-grained control, full visibility into the source code, and the ability to do seamless no-touch provisioning. So that brings it to the developer side of it. So one thing to understand about Esper is that the platform is wrapped with a cloud API. So that means the things that you see in the console are available to you via API, so that way you can drive them with code. Additionally, we have a device-side SDK, which has an API set that your app can talk to, and that opens up interesting scenarios where your app is aware of what devices it's running on and can communicate with your cloud system to talk to our cloud system so that they're all orchestrated and can work together. So this is our initial view on DevOps and continuous integration and continuous delivery, the possibilities that are being opened up with Esper. And we really want you to take a look at our APIs and see what you can do with it. We have some interesting samples up on GitHub. We also have a CLI, so command line interface, and you can plug it directly into Android Studio if you wish. And we also have a Python SDK, so very handy for running Python scripts that can automate certain tasks and take your productivity up to the next level. Finally, we have a plugin for Android Studio. This is super cool. It lets you upload new versions directly up into Esper so that you don't have to go to the console. Combine that with the terminal with the Esper CLI, and you can basically live in Android Studio to get your initial development work done. So with that, I would like to hand it over to Yahoo, who can finally get to show you about our Esper Telemed solutions. And Yahoo, you can take it from there. Thank you.
Now we're going to talk about approaches to implementing telemedicine solutions and especially how you can accomplish this using Esper. One of the things you need to think about when you're putting together a telemedicine solution on Android is what type of native client solution you use. Is this by hosting an existing application or integrating using a native SDK or maybe writing your own? These days, there are plenty of third-party solutions for creating the video feed between the device and another location. You can leverage SDKs from Zoom, Skype, or there are other companies such as the one that we use, daily.co, for our platform. One of the things that we will demo is how you can use Esper to integrate telechat mechanism with its built-in remote support capabilities that you can host using our APIs within your platform on the cloud side. When writing a telemedicine solution, there are some issues that you need to think about. One of them is HIPAA compliance. First and foremost, you want an encrypted channel for your video communication. And ideally, one end-to-end encryption and a one-on-one communication. If you need to do a server, then you need to think about what information that the server stores as part of its communication relay. There are many products out there, platforms that allow you to have HIPAA compliance out of the box. Usability of the solution is really key, especially in telemedicine scenarios where some of the users may have impacted ability to interact with the device. The other key consideration that you should be looking at is how do you deal with notifications and permissions that are easy to understand and easy to access. Couple of really quick things that you need to think about. Is your telemedicine solution going to be client initiated, cloud initiated, or maybe both? Both of these have different challenges. And one of the key challenges that you would face is the ability to address devices that may be in your fleet. And this is where Esper could help you as we maintain a directory information of the devices that you have. And you can address this information and get properties and get capabilities that you can leverage for your particular use case. I'm going to do a demo of the Esper platform and how it provides the remote support capability out of the box in the UI. But more importantly, and I'll talk a little bit in depth on this, is the capability that Esper provides from an API perspective. Everything that you saw in the UI that Keith demonstrated and that what I'm going to show is driven by APIs. It's really about what the power of what Esper is if you need to go access it and incorporate this capability as part of your solution, it's available for you to use. Let me switch over to a dashboard instance that I have, very similar to what Keith demonstrated. In here, I'm going to go look up one of the devices that I provisioned. It's a Nokia 2.2 phone. Here, which is currently in POC, but we expect to be releasing it pretty soon, is the remote support capability. I'm going to bring that up. And as it's coming up, I'm going to turn off the audio so that we don't get into. There you go. This is me, chat, and I'm going to over here. This is the actual UI on the phone as we were talking. I'm going to dismiss this window so you could actually get to the UI. And so, in case you wanted to interact with the device, you can while having a conversation using the remote support. I'm going to go ahead and exit out of that. Okay. Now that you've seen the dashboard utilization, I want to quickly show you the real power of Esper. So here, as I mentioned, we have APIs, but along with the APIs, we've wrapped the APIs in a command line interface that you can install. This command line interface tool is provided as in source form so that you can exactly look at how we've utilized the APIs. So we'll type in Esper CLI. You can start to see the APIs, the commands that you can use. These commands correspond to many of the features that Keith demonstrated. You can use pipelines, telemetry, create a debug session, remote secure debug session, so that you can actually understand what issues with the device and debug your application. You can manage your groups, install applications, and as well as control devices. I'll give you an example of this. So if I were to do Esper CLI device list, this will give me a list of the devices that are currently on the system. For the purposes of demo, we've actually incorporated the API that creates the video conference session with a particular device. And this Esper CLI conference. And I actually have this already in my history. And what this is going to do is Esper CLI conference start -d, the device name. And this is the same device that we saw over here. Develop KLE5. Let me go ahead and start that. To create the session, and since it's a command line, it just basically created a website that we can access that connects to that device. And I'll just come over here and cut and paste that. So there you go. This shows you the power of Esper. We've incorporated in the UI, but we've also provided an API, and the API was demonstrated using the command line interface. Talk a little bit more about what this API we used. And if I were to take daily.co's So it created the session, and since it's a command line, it just basically created a website that we can access that connects to that device. And I'll just come over here and cut and paste that. So there you go. This shows you the power of Esper. We've incorporated in the UI, but we've also provided an API, and the API was demonstrated using the command line interface. Talk a little bit more about what this API we used. And if I were to take daily.co's, really simple to embed a video conference by calling a very simple command with a particular room. So once you've got your telemedicine solution application written, the key thing that you would have to look at is, how do I push this application out to the fleet? You can use the Esper dashboard, the APIs, or the command line interface to accomplish this. You can then decide whether you want to push this application to a particular set of devices, to a group, or sequence this through the pipeline capabilities, where pipelines allow you to stage your rollout in your fleet of devices. When the application misbehaves, you can use Esper to diagnose and debug remotely. And then more importantly, you can also use remote view or remote control to augment your telemedicine solution. And to recap, we looked at the Esper platform. We looked at multiple different ways that you can write a device. And then we showed how it can be incorporated into the solution, as well as some the key aspects of Esper platform. Some of the best practices that you can use for updating existing fleet with using Esper is building out groups, using a pipeline capabilities so that you can stage. Esper allows you to have many versions of the same applications, so you can control which versions are part of the fleet. That's really key, is Esper gives you fine-grained control of how you deploy, and give you control of how you deploy the application into your fleet.
All right, thank you, Yadu. Thank you, Keith. We appreciate your time. We're going to wrap up this webinar with a few questions and answers that we got from the viewers. So I'm just going to read down that chat box. And the first question that shows up is, if I add my video chat to my app, are there any additional permissions I need to deal with, like camera and audio? How is that handled so the user doesn't have to do anything? And I think that question is for Keith.
Yeah, Billy, and that's a great question. And that's one of the nice things about Esper, in that we allow you to choose how you want to handle app permissions. So basically, if you build your Telemed app and then use Esper to install and manage it, you can choose to have permissions automatically granted. And so that means things like camera and audio, they're seamless to the user. So your app will not throw any kind of notification permission around that if you use Esper.
All right, thank you. The next question we have here is, what if I wanted to integrate Skype or Zoom onto my solution? Can I do it into my app, or does it have to be standalone? And I think that one's for Yadu.
Excellent question. In the demo that I showed, we used a platform called daily.co, which has great SDK APIs, which we integrated. Both Skype and Zoom also have SDK that you can write to, which will allow you to integrate your the video into your application. And if you don't want to do that, you can also manage it so that it's in a separate window, but that's up to you.
Great. Thank you, Yadu. The next question I have here is, does the Esper solution work on specific brands, or I'm guessing versions of Android? And that one's for you, Keith.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is an interesting one. And so I'll answer it a couple ways. When you say brands, we're brand agnostic. We support all brands that we can of Android devices, which goes to, we do AOSP and we do GMS. And then as a platform, taking it that way, Esper supports all the way from 4.4 up to Android 10. But as far as like particular brands, we support basically all of Android. Now, let's talk about the sample solution that we did for video chat. That we validated on Android 7 and above, and it works great on Android 9 and Android 10. So if you're asking about the Telemed sample specifically, Android 7 and above.
Great. The next question I have here is, apart from HIPAA compliance, is Esper trying to comply with other respective compliances in other parts of the region, maybe outside of the US or other countries? And that is a question for Yadu.
So I'm going to assume that the question is with regards to the remote video support that we demonstrated in this talk. This particular application uses a underlying provider that is HIPAA compliant, and we configured it to be HIPAA compliant. So when you choose your provider, as we mentioned back, you need to kind of make sure that it's HIPAA compliant, and it has underlying encryption end to end, and there's no additional privacy issues when that video transaction is happening. So the configuration also has to be done. With that having been said, we have to kind of investigate if there are any regional specific changes to what we do, and what the provider how we configure the provider in these specific regions. But at this point in time, this is a HIPAA compliant pipe that we are utilizing for the remote support.
Thank you, Yadu. And it looks like we have time for perhaps one more question here. So to finish it all off, the last question is, how sure are you about device security in terms of if somebody stole it or the end user hard resets the device using hard keys? And let's have Keith start with that one.
Yeah. And so let's do a quick step back to say, when you think about security overall, Esper gives you a ton of capability with security, like not being able to sideload an APK onto the device, basically preventing different means of connectivity via USB, being able to shut off ADB, just kind of the table stakes to make sure that your device is in a secure position out of the gate. Now, the specific question, if somebody stole it and they actually know how to do the hard key reset on the device, we actually support factory reset protection, which works with the Google account. So essentially, even if you know the hard key combination, you get thrown a notification where you have to enter in a string, basically a passcode, that's supplied by Google connected with that account, and it prevents someone from being able to factory reset it and utilize it for something else. Even more so, we work with some particular OEMs that sometimes they make available a way to be able to get to hard key reset on the device in kind of unique manners. Even then, we work with them to prevent user access to the ability to do a factory reset on the device.
Also, I wanted to add, one of the things we can help is features like geolocation, etc., allow you to kind of constrain or monitor where the device is. So you can use rules that Esper provides when a device moves away from a location that you've kind of constrained it to. It can take action by locking or taking additional steps to prevent theft, prevent the loss of data, etc.
Yeah, so it looks like there's a lot of different ways that we can address security, and Keith and Yadu shared some of those with you. So that's actually all the time we have for this webinar today. For the questions that we didn't have a chance to answer, we will definitely do that offline, and we will send it in a follow-up email. Hopefully we have that to you by Monday. It really was a pleasure to have all of you guys part of this session, asking questions, being actively engaged. And I will actually let Yadu and Keith say some quick goodbyes, and we can close out this amazing session. And let's start with Yadu.
It was really good having all of you join this webinar. We're really thrilled to kind of show off Esper and a lot of the power behind Esper. And we're looking forward to working with any of you that want to kind of onboard your devices onto the Esper platform. So sign up.
Yes, sign up. This is Keith, and want to say thank you as well. And we're happy to do a quick consultation regarding integrating this technology into your essential app that you may need to get video chat into. So just let us know. We'll be happy to see if we can help. Thank you.
And
Thanks, everyone.
following up with Keith, if you want that free consultation session, you can email us at Andy, A-N-D-I, at esper.io. And once again, thank you for joining us, and everybody have a great day.